Hello, everyone. This is me, Paul. You may or may not have seen any of my videos. If not, no big deal. If so, no big deal. This one I'm making tonight, yeah, I'm documenting about my day at the fair with my daughter Sydney yesterday. Every year, our area has a fair, like many areas in America, and it happens to be this week. So yesterday, I took her, and she was been ecstatic about going. She is every year. So this year, when I took her, I really wanted to make it about her and whatever she wanted to do. So I asked her on the way exactly what she wanted to do, and she pretty much had it written down in her head. So she gave me a list of things to do. The one thing she really wanted to do was go on the Ferris wheel. So right when we got there, we were supposed to go on the Ferris wheel. I had a voucher for a ride bracelet, so she can get on any ride for free all day long. So I had to redeem that. And when I went up to the booth to get into the fair, they sent me over by the merry-go-round. That's where the booth was to redeem that particular ticket so she could ride the rides. So I told her that we had to go by the merry-go-round. So that changed from the Ferris wheel to the merry-go-round being the first ride she went on, which in my recollection, I think that's always the first ride she ends up going on anyway. So she went on the merry-go-round. She was really excited because she got to go by herself without an adult standing next to her this time, because she's bigger this year and she's big enough to get on most of the rides without me. Not that she doesn't want me to go, but I mean, she doesn't want me to go. I shouldn't say that. It's not that I won't ride with her, but she doesn't really want me to go right now. She wants to be a little independent and do her own thing. Some rides I'll go on, she'll want me to. But so I got her the bracelet. She went on the merry-go-round, and that she did. Then she wanted to go on to the Ferris wheel, like we talked about originally. So after we left the Ferris wheel, on our way to the merry-go-round, or sorry, I guess got that backwards. After we left the merry-go-round and we're headed to the Ferris wheel, I saw a ride open that I really wanted her to go on because it was open. There was no kids waiting in line, and I figured I'd get her on as many rides as I could so she wasn't standing in line all day, because it's really tough for little kids. So I see this ride. It's called the Scrambler, and I know this ride from when I was a child, and I liked it. It was one of the ones that I really liked to go on because I was a little chicken shit when it came to big rides and stuff. So these were the ones that I'd go on, and I'm talking twice the age of Sydney. I don't even remember it at 4, so about 8 years old is what I'm referring to from what I can remember. And I'd go on these little rides. So I got her on this ride called the Scrambler, and she hopped right on willingly because it's a ride, and it was one of the first couple we went on. So she got on and she went around. As she was going around a couple times, I'm looking through the viewfinder of the camera, and I'm taking pictures and taking videos, and all I could think of was like a flashback just came in my head, like an instant memory that I had when I was a kid. And I used to ride that ride, and I would be completely alone on it too. She was just all alone going around, not looking like she was having too much fun. I mean, some fun because she was on a ride, but kind of like, you know what I mean? I don't know. So that flashback just kind of, I mean, my mom used to take me when she got out of work to the fair. My mom worked really hard. She'd take me to the fair after work, and she would get me the bracelet and run me around to all the different rides, kind of like what I was doing with Sid. And I always ended up on that Scrambler, and I was like alone. Like I jumped on it all the time because there was no kids, and it was like I could just get on it and get off and go do another ride without waiting. And it just brought back, I don't know. Anyway, so moving on. We continued on to the Ferris wheel, like that was our, original plan. So, and it's crazy. She loves the Ferris wheel. She's not afraid of heights, anything like that. She loves it. She loves going around, seeing everything, how high we are, and getting up and looking over the edge. And I just think that's really cool because I love the Ferris wheel too. So we left that, and after we left the Ferris wheel, when we were on our way to the Ferris wheel, she had noticed this kind of like bungee jump thing. It was like a harness and bungee cords, and the kids were jumping up and down and doing flips and all that stuff. And it was really cool. And I remember her seeing it last year, and her not really being big enough to go on it, but she was this year. So I promised her I'd put her on it, and we went over, and we put her on, and she had a great time. The bracelet didn't cover that one. I'd actually shell out some cash, but she wanted it so bad, so I made sure it happened. I put her on it, and she had a good time. So we left that, and we continued on throughout the fair, and there's this huge slide there that's been there since I was a kid, since my friends were kids, since people older than me were kids, and she likes it. So she went up and she did that, and it went okay, but she's not really heavy, and it's like one of those rides where it really needs like a heavy kid to get the momentum going down with the burlap bag and the plastic and all that. So she lagged behind the other kids, but it was good. She still had a good time. So we left the big slide, and there's lots of animals at the fair, so we went to the petting zoo. She loves the petting zoo. She loves to check out all the different animals. There's usually some kind of exotic animal, like a tiger or something like that. This year it was a zebra, and she'd never seen one of those, so she was really ecstatic about the zebra. She likes to feed the animals, and she just likes to pet them, and it's nothing too crazy. It's usually goats and sheep that they can touch, and they do have some, like I said, exotic stuff, but that stuff's usually caged up and far away from contact. So she had a good time with the petting zoo. And we left that, and the one thing she really loves about this fair is and it's weird because it's just such a small little thing. It's not a ride, it's not anything like that. It's just a little, in the farming part of it, there's a box. It's like a sandbox, but it's not a sandbox. They call it a corn box. Instead of sand inside, it's a bunch of dried up hard corn, and the kids can play with that. They've got little tractors and stuff like that. Shovels they can dig and throw it around, and she really loves to see that every year, and she'd been talking about it, so I told her, we'll go over to the corn box. So on the way to the corn box, we happened to go by this, there's like a little section where it's like olden times kind of stuff, like women like weaving stuff with wheels, and this blacksmith that we saw, he was kind of heating up his tools and heating up the metal and then pounding stuff out on an anvil with his tools, and we stopped there for a few, and she didn't really care about that, but it was kind of about me. I just kind of like that old time stuff, so we checked that out for a little bit, and on our way to that corn box tent, I knew where it was, but I was kind of trying to hit a couple of the other things on the way, and we stopped by the sheep tent, and the sheep tent cracks me up because the sounds that they make is just, I don't know, there's nothing like live sheep, like a whole bunch of them together just making the sounds that they make. It makes me want to piss my pants every time I hear it. So I love going to that tent. So we hit that tent, and there was like a little sheep shearing competition thing going on, and there was some young farmer girls had their sheep, and they were shearing them and stuff, and then there was judging and stuff like that. So we didn't really stick around for that whole thing. We just kind of caught the tail end of it, and then we left. So we finally made it to Sydney's corn box tent, so she could play in the corn box, and she did that for about 15-20 minutes, as she loves to do. And it was pretty much time to wrap that up, wrap up the fair at that point. It was, it was getting late. We'd been there for about 6 hours, and, she'd went on other, rides, and various different rides, and, things that spin around and bounce up and down, and, just like the stationary things that spin around and go up and down kind of rides. She went on a bunch of those, and a bunch of those, like, playhouses they can run in. I'll let her run through 15-20 times. So anyway, she had a great time, and I'm only doing this. I'm not doing this to show anybody as much as I'm doing it for myself, to document things about her and what we did, and have it somewhere where I can always refer to it, being YouTube. So anyway, that's it for me for this particular video, and maybe something in the future.